Here we go.
Welcome to another episode of The Good Listening To Show, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes, the storytelling show that features The Clearing, where all good questions come to get asked and all good stories come to be told. And where all my guests have two things in common. They're all creative individuals and all with an interesting story to tell. There are some lovely storytelling metaphors. A clearing, a tree, a juicy storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, some alchemy, some gold, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, and a cake. So it's all to play for. So yes, welcome to The Good Listening To Show, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we shall begin.
Oh, yes, indeedy doody. You're laughing, which is the right thing. Ross King, we are rolling out the red carpet on the Good Listening To podcast tonight because we are speaking to our man from Hollywood. This is none other than the broadcasting legend that is Ross King, a man so at home on the red carpets of LA. He's not there hoovering them. He's actually standing there normally on the Oscar carpets or the Globe carpets, and all the celebrities that he meets are all delighted to see him. And in fact, I've seen many of them say, almost thank heavens it's you. You're the only one I want to speak to. So it's just such a joy and a pleasure. You are a TV radio host. You have 4 News Emmys, 2 Sony Awards, 1 Golden Mike, and a Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Award. And I'm assuming a 25-metre breaststroke certificate in there somewhere.
And a cycling proficiency. I couldn't get that one on as well. Cycling proficiency was a big one at the time, I remember. So and a Burns, and I've also got a Burns certificate for reciting poetry and singing a Burns song.
Whilst completing a Rubik's Cube, no doubt. And just while we're wringing out the sponge of your awards and accolades, are there any more that you just like to squeeze in there?
I know, I'm just trying to think there. Is there anything else? No, I think that'll do. That'll do for now, yes. To have any of those to make me a broadcasting leg end is great. So I'm happy with that. I'll stick with being a leg end.
Wonderful. You are indeed a wonderful leg end. And thank you so much, by the way, for saying yes to this. You're a man after my own heart. I'm a comedy improvisation performer by sort of training and background. Say yes more to stuff and cool things can happen. I don't know if you remember my trail to you was I was introduced to your wonderful agent, Seamus Light, and then he was kind enough to ask you. And you said yes very quickly. And you were very kind because you were on the hoof. Go you and your life in LA. You'd said, I'm just on the way from Hawaii to Miami and then London, you said, Londonii. So you're obviously global head of yourself on the hoof. So thanks for saying yes on the fly.
Oh, my pleasure, Chris. It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I mean, my life is so silly. It's funny you're saying about on the red carpets, not hoovering. That's ahead of me. So I know that at some point I will go from interviewing in the red carpets to actually hoovering in the red carpets. But yeah, it's funny you say as well about the whole the comedy background, because when I came out here to LA back in 2020, 2000. I came out here. Sorry, I've been here 22 years. See, it's all kicking in now.
Yeah.
And and it's funny that I went back to acting class, and I did 3 years out here, but also went to improv class. And it's such a great thing. And as you're saying, one of the first things that most people learn in improv class is yes and I think that's a great metaphor for life, isn't it? Yes, and don't negate things. Yes, and and you move on with things, and you get better things, and you get better results. So yeah, I'm a great man for that in life itself.
And talking of improvisation, as you just beautifully were, there's a delicious segue. One of my instant wit fellow comedy improvisers is called Peter Maurice. She was known as Peter Dennis. When she heard that I was going to interview you, she went, he's wonderful, because she did her work experience with you at the Bristol Hippodrome when you were in summer holiday with Darren Day.
Yeah. Oh my goodness me, what a long time ago that was. Yeah, what fun it was as well. Do 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 do. I feel the music should come in now. Do 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 do.
And about when I was googling around about you, you've only very recently spoken to Cliff Richard, coming full circle.
Yeah.
And I got so excited, if I may, almost a bit of wee came out, because when I was just Googling some stuff, you did this
too much. Stop.
you said, here on my sofa, I've got 2 popes in one day. and it was a Ross King sofa show whereby you had Sir Anthony Hopkins and Sir Jonathan Pryce, the two popes from the Netflix fame, on your sofa in one day.
Oh, just my life is just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous, and I never ever lose sight of that. And I think the fact that also literally I cannot lose sight of the Hollywood sign because it's just outside that window there makes me realize every day how ridiculously lucky I am. So when I see that, I smile, and it's funny, you know, when people come to the house and they say, "Oh, you must get really used to the Hollywood sign," and I don't. I never get used to any part of my job at all. And I love it, but I never ever get used to it, and I never ever not have that feeling of, oh my goodness me, I'm doing this and it's what I've always wanted to do and I'm still doing it. And you know, I go back to when I was a kid in local radio, Radio Clyde in Glasgow when I was 15, 16, and I was the Saturday boy. And I used to rig the football grounds for the soccer commentaries. So I'd be out there at the football grounds and you would throw the cables over and all the rest of it. And one day at Love Street, Paisley, just outside Glasgow, where St Mirren play, and we had this horrendous, typically Glasgow summer weather, the rain pouring down, there was sleet and every single thing that they could throw at us. And I was on top of this radio van and trying to get the mast up, and the mast didn't work, and you had to try the pump, and it started and then it stopped. And anyway, I slid at one point, and I was lying on top of the radio van, and I was heaving, and I actually was sobbing. I was like, what is this all about? Why I want to be in show business. And it's so fun.
And you were nearly going the same way as Rod Hull then, nearly. Do you remember he fell off a roof adjusting an aerial?
And when I got to, you know, the point when I'm out here, when I have, you know, radio studios and TV studios at home and all the rest of it, when I go and flick a switch and everything goes ring, I always immediately think of that kid lying on top of the radio van thinking, what is it all about? What is going to happen? And here it is. So to me, it takes me right back, and it also makes me so appreciative of, you know,
I love that. The idea of almost lying on your back in a puddle on the top of a broadcasting van, looking at the sky going, what's it all going to be? And then here you are, wind forward X number of years. Hurrah. And not to age us both, by the way. And I won't age myself either, but we were born in the same year. I'm October of the same year, so I promise not to age us, but I think you're about 9 months older than me.
Way! And we've got a big year coming up, so yeah.
Exactly. So listen, it's my great joy to have you here. Lots to discuss, but I wanted to curate you through the journey of the good listening to. It's all about giving you a damn good listening to, where we're going to discover the story behind the story of being you. And so we're going to talk about a clearing, and I'll ask you what that is in a minute. And then it's all to play for, because we've got a tree where we shake your tree to see which storytelling apples fall out. And that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, the lovely crunching on your apples of your story construct to do. And then that's 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that inspire you, 2 things that never fail to grab your attention, and borrowed from the film Up, that's, oh, squirrels, you know, what never fails to grab your attention, and then a quirky or unusual fact about you. Then there's alchemy, gold, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, and a cake.
That's sensational. Can I also just say that I have not prepared for this, not in an unprofessional way, but I just thought, having read sort of the background and watched what you've done before, I thought I'm going to try and go into this without any preconceived ideas, any notions of, I must remember to tell that story, or I must remember to do that, or whatever. So I'm sort of in a very Zen-like
lovely
state. I'm being guided by you, and hopefully there are no squirrels at the moment. I'm just with you.
You've got razor focused squirrels. We like that. And do you approach your normal broadcasting career with the same mindset, by the way?
No. I mean, I do sometimes in interviews. If I'm interviewing a big star, I obviously do my research and I have an idea where I would like the conversation to go.
Yeah.
But if anyone's ever seen me in TV, you very rarely see me have any notes of any kind, or like, you know, clipboard on my lap or cards or anything. And that's because I want the conversation to flow, and I want to go at times where that person leads me, because I feel sometimes if people go in and they've got a whole set of questions, then they follow it. And some, I've seen people that I admire, really good interviewers, miss certain things because I know that they're already thinking, what's my next question? And they're glancing at the question. And as they glance at the question, the person says something that I go, oh, that's interesting. And then they go, but also I want to ask you about, and you go, oh, just missed that one there, hit the post. So that's been my way. And I also think as well, and again, a lot of this comes from, we're talking about the comedy side of things or just improv, is that if you fold your arms or if you've got questions, I feel that you have a barrier. And the last thing, as you well know, in an interview, you want is any kind of barrier you want to share. As you're saying, you want to do one-on-one, you want to get as much as you can from someone and not have them reserved in any way. And I think that's what happens. And I see it on the red carpets out here. It's quite funny. I remember the Oscars years and years ago when Benedict Cumberbatch wasn't that famous here. And I was interviewing him and we were chatting and he said, you're the only person who chats to me and looks at me. He said, because here, everyone, they're all so busy going, so tell me, and did you enjoy doing the film? And they're looking along the carpet just to see who else is coming or looking that way. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks for that. And then off they go. And I think that's the whole thing. It's all about connection. And again, it goes back to, improv as well, connect with the other person. Yes. And look in their eyes, feed off them. So,
when your presence is truly required, remember to be truly present. I love that.
Oh, and it's funny you say present, because I, again, going back to acting class out here, I went to a class that was basically for auditions. And the idea was that they said you have to be present. This is where, and it's so true, I think, and I'll backtrack a little bit. I learned this for an audition class, and then I realized I could put it into real life. And the simple fact of the matter is to be present in a situation. So in this class, they said, when you go in for an audition, do 3 things. It can be any 3 things. You can look at the person's shoes and think, are they shiny? You can look at their earlobes. Like I've got big earlobes and think, are they bigger than mine, smaller than mine? Normally they're always smaller than mine. And then maybe look at, what color of top they're wearing, something like that. But if you do 3 things, it absolutely centers you and makes you present. And I did it and I was like, oh my goodness me, it really, really does work. So then I started doing it, like I just go and have a coffee with a friend and I would do the 3 things, and it could be any 3 things. And it really does put you in the moment. And so that was it. And I thought in life, when we're not present, especially with everything going on in life at the moment, we really are not present. We're all thinking, oh my goodness me, it's like, have I got COVID? Have I got to go and have a test? Am I this? Am I that? Who's been affected? What's happening with my life? So I think now more than ever to be present.
Yes.
Such a big thing. And those 3 things really help.
And therein lie the squirrels, the monsters of distraction. So, by the way, I have one thing to fess up as well. My son, Stan, by the way, who's been very, very witty over the Christmas period, when I knew, I nearly spoke to you once, but then you had to do the Lorraine Christmas special. I think. So I got pushed to the back burner. That's no problem. But my son, Stan, has been teasing me all the way through Christmas. He keeps saying to me, good luck with Bob Ross. Good luck with Bob Ross. Now, I don't know. Checking in that you know who Bob Ross is, obviously. There is that iconic Painting with Bob Ross program. And so I just need to lay that out now, because at any point I go, I'm hoping I'll get it wrong and call you King Bob or something like that at some point.
Or Jonathan Ross or Nick Ross.
But Ross, anyway, Ross King, welcome to the clearing.
Ross Kelly.
Ross Kelly, Gene Kelly, it's all good.
It's all good.
And my son, by the way, Stan, features on the outro, should you wish to hear him. He's very witty, very cheeky. I've got a son called Stan because of my love of Stan Laurel.
Oh, I love it. And I'm presuming you can do the whole, because you've got the shape of head, haven't you, to do the...
Are you saying I've got a pointy head? What's going on now?
You've got that lovely comedy face. You've got that. I can just imagine you doing them. Yeah.
You're very kind. And obviously, as you're in Hollywood, you'll probably know where his house is and where the piano is wheeled up the music.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I've been there a couple of times. Love it.
Anyway, I got that off my chest. And by the way, I'm wearing a red snood in homage to the red carpet.
Oh, nice. Nice. I'm wearing red eyes in homage to that.
So let's get going on the open road. Hurrah. So,
Hurrah.
Ross King, what is a clearing like for you? Where do you go to get clutter-free? You know, what is your serious happy place? Where do you go to get inspirational?
One place I definitely go to now is yoga, which I hadn't done for years and years. People had said to me, you should do yoga, especially as you're getting older. I used to play a lot of football, and Richard Gough, who was captain of Scotland, Everton, Rangers, you name it, he played for them all, Dundee United. He always said to me that he did yoga, and he's the same age as me, and he is just the most flexible guy. I mean, he's so flexible. He can do Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I remember that joke.
And I thought, I really have got to think about it. And while I'm still playing football out here, I thought, yeah, rather than just the usual kind of training, I want to do yoga. So I started doing that about 4 years ago now, and I love it. And it helps me into little bits of meditation, not to get too sort of LA about things, but I do love that. And also what I've now found is that in the morning when I wake up, you know, that time in the morning when you wake up, when you're not really asleep, but not really awake.
The betwixt time, yeah.
Yeah, and I found that that's a really wonderful time where you can give yourself so many suggestions and listen to different things. And it goes in, and sometimes I'll kind of gently go through the day and what I hope to achieve and what things I need to do, and just to declutter things. And I find that that's a great time as well. So that's another perfect little place for me.
So reading between the lines there of the betwixt time, it's a meditative space, either on a yoga mat or in that half waking, half sleepy state.
Yes. Yeah, I would say
you
so.
do call yourself a sort of failed footballer. So you obviously got very, very close, did you, to going professional? Is that right?
Well, I'm not quite sure how close I got. I mean, I'll give you a couple of the stories when I was a kid. Was that Bertie Auld, who sadly just passed away a few months ago, was one of the Lisbon Lions. He played for Celtic when they won the European Cup back in the 60s, and he was the manager of Partick Thistle. So Partick Thistle is my local team. So in Glasgow, you have, you know, Rangers, Celtic, and then you have Partick Thistle. And as Billy Connolly said, their full title is Partick Thistle-nil. You know, Rangers 3, Partick Thistle-nil. Celtic 4, Partick Thistle-nil. But that was my local team, and that was the team I supported and the team that I wanted to play for. And as a schoolboy, I went in, and I was possibly going to sign for them and all the rest of it. And I went into Bertie Auld's office one Saturday before a game to meet him and all the rest of it. And I went in, and it's so funny. I always remember things. Again, I was actually present, weirdly enough, that the ITV7 was on, the horse racing was on in the corner. He was smoking a cigar. The room was filled with cigar smoke. And he looked at me and he went, "Aye," he says, "Son, you'll wear out more mirrors than football boots."
He knew you were born for showbiz, darling.
So that was it. So I think that summed it up. So I was like, okay, I'll take that and jog on.
And by the way, let your face do the talking, not your feet. Where you've ended up, please. And you've got a lovely face. Okay. So, I'm now going to turn up with a tree then, and it's going to be quite difficult to turn up into your dream state. Although we can go where you like. We can either get a bit sort of, ooh, if I'm turning up in a dream state, or I can pitch up with my tree on your yoga mat. What would you prefer?
How about my dream state?
Oh, I like you because that's more ethereal.
Right.
Lovely. And by the way, talking of ethereal, Peter Maurice or Peter Dennis, who I mentioned before, her clearing was a doodle pad. Ooh. So the whole thing was like a cartoonscape. Anyway. By the way, she does doodles about this program, and she, because of your connection, has volunteered to do one for you after we finish speaking.
Oh, thank you. That's so lovely. Thank you.
So here I am with a tree, and this is a bit Waiting for Godot-esque, and you'll find this relatable because you've hector trained as well. So it's a bit existential. I'm going to shake your tree to see which apples fall out. How'd you like them apples? And this is where you've been kind enough to have taken 5 minutes. The clue's in the title there. Don't overthink it. 4 things, Ross King, broadcasting legend, that have shaped you. 3 things that inspire you. Back to your squirrels, 2 things that, squirrels, never fail to grab your attention, and then a quirky or unusual fact about you we couldn't possibly know until you tell us. So over to you. How would you like to shake your foliage, please?
Oh, right. Well, I mean, there's a few of them overlap, and without a shadow of a doubt, the first place I have to go to is my family. mum and dad, and also my sister as well. We're a really, really close family. And mum and dad were so influential on me in every way, shape, and form. And even to this day are still very influential on me. Dad was great. He was in the Salvation Army, and so he played a variety of instruments, but mainly the euphonium. My mum wasn't in the Salvation Army, but she played the piano. So I was brought up in a very musical background. And then also the weirdest thing was that Dad would quite often on Sundays in the Salvation Army take the service or whatever, but interlaced it all with jokes. And it was so funny that I never, ever thought of that kind of being show business. But when I think back on it, it was, Dad was standing on a stage and making people laugh. And then my uncles, my Uncle Walter, my Uncle Norman, they were dance hall DJs at the time as well, and more like MCs, rather, when it was like the old record, and now everyone take your partners for a foxtrot, dozy, take your partners, dozy do. So there was a lot of that. My Uncle Bill as well was the same as that, and the Isle of Wight. So the weirdest thing was that as a kid, I was obviously going to try and be a footballer, and it seemed natural. I was doing reasonably well and all the rest of it. But then when I said to my dad, I want to go into show business, he said, well, we don't know Coco the Clown. He said, we're not against it, but we don't know Coco. So I was like, okay, right. So then I put that sort of on the back burner. But also I'd been brought up as a kid to sing at parties and sing at weddings. And I was that little annoying kid that always got up and sang Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool and things like that, with my purple cord suit and things like that.
And then full circle, I know you've sung Puppy Love with Donny Osmond. I saw that.
Yeah, with a purple cord suit. I know, and again, that's the weird thing in my life, that there's so much of it. I go, oh my goodness me, silly kid from Glasgow, still silly kid, but now in Hollywood. And then the things matching up and not ever realizing that one day it would. And anyway, and Barbara Streisand and all these different names that come in that go back to my childhood. Anyway, I as Ronnie Corbett would say, I digress. And here's Barbara Dixon. And now, why was it? Barbara Dixon was on every single show with it. Barbara Dixon. And now, Barbara Dixon. So anyway, meanwhile, back at whatever it was. Yes. So my parents, incredibly influential, just the loveliest people, very rarely.
Can I just congratulate you, going back a few paragraphs, for your use of the word euphonium? Thank you.
Oh, and it's the most beautiful instrument. It's just got the most beautiful melodic sound. So in many respects, it was kind of natural what I was going to do, but I didn't ever think that was kind of part of my training, but it really was.
Can I just delve a bit more into what your parents or what your dad meant by "we don't know Coco the Clown"? What was that about? I didn't quite.
Well, he was like, look, I know that you want to go into show business, and we're very happy to help, but we don't know Coco the Clown. Football wise, I went to play for a team in Renfrew and near Glasgow and things like that. So he kind of helped, or he would come to the football, but he just didn't know what to do. Football wise. So that was like, okay, what am I going to do? And then again, going into the influencing, Roddy Hood was my math teacher at school, and I spoke to him. Roddy Hood. And I said to him one day, I'm in a bit of a quandary, because I said, I know everyone wants me to be this footballer and be a PE teacher. So it was that, that good combination that maybe I'd be a part-time footballer and be a PE teacher. And because I was very sporty, it all made sense. And then I spoke to Roddy about it. And then he said, hospital radio is a great way to get into the business, I've heard. Mrs. Lawson, who, another one of the math teacher, her son, Alan, now works at the BBC, but he is involved in hospital radio. And for people who don't know, certainly hospital radio in Glasgow, which is still there, still exists, is like a little, and I don't mean to demean it, it's a small radio station that broadcasts to all the hospitals throughout Glasgow and the West, and it's run like a proper radio station. And so they said, this is a great place to go to get experience. I was only 14, 15 at the time, and went along there, and there was a gentleman called Eric Simpson, who then took me in and said, right, okay, let's see what you can do. And he said, you've got a nice voice. I was, thank you. And then it was funny, you'll know this as well, that this was kind of back in the day when the technology was such that to play a record and you had to talk over the intro. So you do hit, the intro, hit the vocals and all that stuff. And then people would time it, so they go, oh, that's got a 15-second intro. And because of my slightly musical background, I would go, no, it's 4 bars. And they'd go, what? And I would go, well, I know. And also having sung at weddings and things, I just knew when to come in. So the funniest thing was that they would play a record and I would do the voiceover and talk right up to the vocals. And then it became like this thing. They were pulling people into the studio going, look at this kid. We play any record and he'll talk over he'll do the voiceover of it. And it was so funny, but it was just a natural thing for me. So that got me into it. And then that was the radio. So that then took me, so yeah, mum and dad, sister, Roddy Hood, Mrs. Lawson, Alan Lawson, Eric Simpson, and then a gentleman called Paul Cooney was a guy who then was at the radio station, Radio Clyde at the time, and was head of sport. And they were looking for a Saturday boy who just went in and you did everything. And it goes back to me rigging the football grounds and all the rest of it. And so I was the Saturday boy and I got 10 quid and I did everything. Made the teas, made the coffees, which I still do quite well, and did everything. Absolutely. Studio factotum.
And by the way, I love the grace and the gratitude that you have in remembering really clearly the names of those individuals that put you on the path on which you're on. And are you still in touch with them? Have you ever returned to the hospital radio site?
Yeah, I'm still in touch with mum and dad through a medium. And
I'm sorry to hear they're not here anymore, by the way.
That's right. My dad was a medium, and that's what it said in the back of his underpants. Here all week, try your weight. Hey, thank you. No, Roddy, I still speak to now and again. Not as much, but we're still in contact. Alan Lawson, the last time I was back at BBC in Scotland, I bumped into him in the canteen, which was the most wonderful thing. And I said, this man's so responsible, if you want to hit him now, I would. Yeah. Paul Cooney is one of my best friends and we still speak every other day.
Your ability to be truly present all the way through your career sounds like a bit of a recurring theme. And by the way, someone who was kind enough to come on and say hello to you just before we started, Alec Lom, who's Herbert Lom's son. I've been working with him recently and he totally unsolicited was very glowing about you in the sense that when he and you were at Pebble Mill together, he was doing a director's course and he needed to try and find a presenter quickly. Everybody else was having to just get like their nan to come and do it, whereas he just came into the canteen and said, can I borrow you? And you went outside and apparently did a consummately professional job and gave him the most professional showreel.
Well, thank you. That's very good. But Lomi was great. And I love that thing when you spot people. And I always used to refer to it my other best friend, Alan Stewart, who is also incredibly influential on my career and my life. He was very kind to say it about me, and that was lovely. And so I'm not bringing it all back to me, but we used to talk about it like the Ready Break. You remember the Ready Break ad?
The glow, yes.
And we would say that you would see someone and you would go, this is before the X Factor, you would go, they've got that glow, there's something about them, they've got that Ready Break glow. And for people who are listening or watching thinking, what is it? It was a commercial for the breakfast cereal, and the idea was that kids were standing shivering at the bus stop, but the kid who'd had Ready Break was warm and they had this little glow around them. So that's what we've all said, and we say that if we see someone, an act or whatever, Alan and I will often go, Ready Break.
What a great shorthand. I love that. And because we are the same age, I grew up on the same TV commercials and I know exactly the commercial you're talking about. Google Ready Break. That was a great advertising campaign. We're still in your foliage. You're doing a wonderful overlap of things that have inspired and shaped. Is there anything else you want to say in that part of the canopy?
No, I think we're pretty much through that. I mean, that's certainly taken me a long way. And then the sort of the other, I mean, there've been so many people that have been so ridiculously helpful in my career. And, I had managers, not many managers and agents. David Meehan when I was a kid in Glasgow, and then my friend Joe Shirley as well, who looked after me. I've had so many people that have helped and guide me along the way. But then when I went into national television, I did a show called Young Krypton, which was the kids' version of the Krypton Factor. And the guy who chose me at the time out of a lot of people was Rod Natkiel. And Rod, just an incredible influence on my life and my career. I've never really worked with anyone who was so thorough and so dedicated as a producer. And, you know, even when I would ask, there was one round in the Young Krypton where I had to ask, it was like rapid fire questions, and he would sit with me the night before the show and get me to do them and then go, I didn't understand that, say it again, and say it with a smile on your face, we'll understand it better. And the attention to detail, which is something that hopefully I've then taken into my life, and Rod I'm still in touch with as well. So, you know, he had such incredible influence.
I love your sort of trail of respect of remembering those that have nudged you along the way, and that's just a really lovely quality, if I may say.
Well, thank you. Very lucky, very lucky. Dougie Squires in theatre. I mean, there's so many people that so many different names that just come out, and again, they've just been so helpful and shaped me.
And now I think we can get on to two things that never fail to grab your attention. So whatever else you're getting on with in your life, it could be Bond, I'm not sure. What is it that never fails to grab your attention?
Beautiful women. Guaranteed.
You old rake. I love that.
That's one thing for sure. It's a great song. You know, whether I hear it in the radio, computer, TV, just when a song really grabs you, you know, just one that you go, again, as a kid being brought up in music and then going into local radio and being a DJ for such a long time, and then actually being the music controller for a little while, that you heard, there was an amazing period in my life, probably with the late 80s, when I was at the radio station, where you heard every single song, that every it was, you know, record CDs at the time when they came out. It was an amazing thing to hear almost every song. So you could ask me at that period of almost every song, and I can even tell you the ones that weren't hits because I had to listen to them. So a great song. And then also I think the football thing is so funny that even, you know, here we get a lot of the football out here. So whenever I walk by, if I just put the TV on and wandered into the kitchen, and then I'll suddenly hear, oh, you know, it's like, you know, oh, Chelsea's on today against Tottenham. I don't have a particular English team, but I just, whoa, and then that's grabbed me as well. So
football's always been a squirrel. I love that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And now a quirky or unusual fact about you, Ross King, we couldn't possibly know until you tell us.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. Wow. Wow, I know. What is there about me that that people don't know? If anyone's even interested in knowing. I think that I think I'm very lucky in that that if you've seen me on the TV or in the theater or whatever, I am very much that person. I feel very blessed because I know a lot of people, and a lot of, you know as well from the world of comedy, a lot of people are not who you think they are.
Yes, there's a,
you know, the
veneer maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's. I'm not saying that as in a way. I'm saying it as in I feel very lucky that I am that kind of person, and that what I get to do in TV a lot of the time is just me. So I feel very fortunate that there's not like an act as such.
Yes. I find that very relatable, a bit being like the global head of yourself, and you know, this is me. I love that.
Yeah. And also I think, weirdly enough, one thing that I found about myself in the past couple of years, obviously with everything that's going on, when you're on your own, I'm actually pretty good being on my own. And it's funny when I think of, you know, even when I go back through my career of thinking of local radio, you know, when my first radio show was through the night, 2 till 6 in the morning. And so you're on your own in a big radio station. It's so funny when you think about it.
And in fact, I wanted to ask you about that because you are
Yeah.
the LA correspondent for programs like Lorraine. Obviously, we're watching daytime television early in the morning, but and I know you know Dolly Parton very well, and you talk 9 to 5, but you don't work 9 to 5. You must be almost nocturnal, I would imagine, because you
Well,
must be up at 2, 3
yeah.
in the morning.
I would actually like to be nocturnal, but just because of what my job entails and also my other jobs. So, for example, so from an LA time point of view, I could be live on the TV from 10 o'clock out here if I'm doing
Yeah.
Good Morning Britain. Then Lorraine comes on, that's about 1. And so
Yeah.
by the time I finish with Lorraine, then that's about 2 in the morning. Then I also do Channel 7 in Australia. So sometimes it depends what time they're working, whether or not I'm doing a pre-record or live.
Yeah.
And that can take me right through until 6 in the morning. And then I do for a BBC show called The Edit. And if I'm doing them, that's early in the morning here, round about sort of 7. And then I've still got my other job of writing and voiceovers. And we're just in the middle of writing a third book with my co-writer, Shari Lowe. So, and that can be any time. So I would quite like to be nocturnal, as in, work through the night and then sleep during the day. But sometimes sleep is a big thing that I'm desperate for, as you can tell.
The man who never sleeps, Ross. Wonderful. So we have shaken your tree, and now we're going to stay in the clearing, but move away from the tree. And I'd like to talk about alchemy and gold now as another storytelling metaphor. When you're at purpose and in flow, what is it you most enjoy bringing to the world, Ross King?
Laughter. Laughter is definitely the one thing that in life that I enjoy so much. And hopefully if I can make some people smile, whether it just be in the supermarket or anywhere, that's such a big thing for me. And I think that goes back to mum and dad. Mum and dad were very, very funny, and every day in our lives, and the same with my sister as well, we always have a laugh, and it doesn't matter what we go through. And there's been some tough times, and we've all gone through tough times, and some a lot more than others, but it's laughter is definitely the thing that certainly gets me through things, and makes me have a laugh. And I feel that life is so much more bearable if you can have a laugh. And I don't wish to sound flippant about that, and I know that people are going through so much at the moment, but definitely laughter, as they say, laughter is the best medicine. Penicillin possibly works pretty well too, but laughter is definitely the big thing for me.
Just liking the float of silence there. Laughter is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
We're getting a bit existential now because I love that alchemy and gold. Now we're going to award you with a cake, Ross King. Do you like cake?
Yes.
So choose a cake. Unfortunately for you, it's only a sort of virtual cake,
right?
Or metaphorical cake. But what type of cake would you like, please? And I'll explain what that means.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. It's funny, I'm not big on cakes, but if I were to have a cake, I'd love that one where I can never ever pronounce. I know I can point to it through the glass cabinet. That one. It's the one. Is it called like a millefeuille? A millefeuille?
I like euphonium and milfew. Nobody's ever said those words.
It's that one. It's kind of got cream and it's got custard and it's got a bit of icing and it's a Frenchy type thing. And
cream custard. You had the euphonium actually, but it's all good. But milfew. So lovely. So this is then where you're going to put a cherry on your milfew.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The final metaphor, whereby I'd like you to tell me what's the best advice you've ever been given.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And what advice might you proffer to a younger version of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
A favourite quote that may have always given you succor and pulled you towards your future. It doesn't have to be all of these, but it can include. And then, just to get all existential on your ears, this is about Shakespeare now. Inspired by Shakespeare's All the World's a Stage and All the Men and Women Merely Please. I'd like you to talk about legacy and how you'd most like to be, Ross King, remembered.
Wow. It's funny, my favorite Shakespearean quote. Oh, and there's another person who had a huge influence on my life was Mr. McKeever, Ian McKeever, who was my English teacher. And he was just the most wonderful erudite man. And in terms of Shakespeare, we would sit in the class and he would say, okay, right, so today we're going to do the Scottish play. Okay, so opening line. So fair and foul a day I have not seen. Right, turn your books over. And they'd be like, what? Turn your books over. And he would say, so there's these three witches and they're all looking around and they're all haggard. And one says, oh, what kind of day is this? It's raining one minute and it's sunny the next. And haven't a clue. Right, turn your books over. And he basically went through every Shakespearean play and translated it for us. And so things stick in my mind. And vaulting ambition, which o'erleaps itself, is one of my favorite Shakespearean quotes, because I think it's so wonderful. You can see it in your head. And also, I think that it's a good one that sometimes I've put it to myself and thought, okay, just pump the brakes a little bit.
I love that. Vaulting ambition that o'erleaps itself is the fact that you still anchor to that because it keeps you humble, please, Ross King.
There we are. Well, I hadn't thought about that, but there we are. The best advice ever given, my mum, and still to this day, and I've often mentioned it, but I think I was about 22 before I realized what it meant. And so in many respects, I wish I'd realized it earlier. Whenever I would be leaving the house to go off and do anything, whether I was going off to sing at something or play football, Mum would always say, just do your best, son. That's all you can do. And I think, like so many people, you probably go, yeah, of course, because of course I'm going to do my best. Of course. What else would I do? But it was realizing everything that meant that you could do your best. So were you prepared? Had you trained? Were you eating properly? Had you got enough sleep? All the things that make you able to do your best. Because once you do your best, and I when I've coached people out here in LA, I've said to them so many times that, especially when it comes to an audition, if you go in, or in fact anything, a day at work, if you go in and you do your best, that's all you can do. You cannot do better than that. So you can walk away from something and say, I really did my best. This is going to be very funny that I will have to pause in a second, just for a second, because the fish man is here. Not that I'm not getting fish, but he's actually going to deal with the fish that are in my little aquarium. I don't have
the fish man. I've never had that interruption. Yes, that's awesome.
it's live. It just shows you that it's live. I can just see them approaching.
I wanted you to float your mum's quote in isolation because it's so lovely.
Yeah. So Mum said, just do your best. That's all you can do.
Lovely.
And I think that, I think if you get that and you abide by it, then things are so much easier. So if you go and do an audition, and as we all know with auditions, that, I've done so many auditions, I'm thinking about changing my name to Next. It'd be so much easier. that your whole thing is that you feel somewhat deflated. But no, if you do your best, that's it. And if that wasn't good enough for them, there we are. But as long as you can walk away, George Clooney always said that. He said to me one time, "Get out of my garden." He said, you go into an audition with nothing, and if you come out of it with nothing, there we are. You haven't lost anything.
Just nothing. I get that.
And I think that's what happens, and especially. I was talking with a couple of friends earlier on today, the pressures that are on people at the moment and the whole mental health issues that people are going through, the pressure that is put upon you and people put upon themselves. And I think if you can alleviate any of that, then it's the most wonderful thing. And I think part of that is, do your best, did my best. That was it. Was it good enough for them? Maybe not, but I did my best.
And how, when all is said and done, legacy would you most like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as a good guy, as a decent guy. As my dad used to always say, always leave something in the deal for the next guy. I'd like to think that, and I'd like to think that I encourage people, and I'm a great believer in it's all round to go round, and so that's how you should deal with things. Aha! The bell, the bell, saved by the bell.
The bells. So, do you need to go and answer that?
Is that all right? Can I do that?
Yes, we can I can pause and I will edit this out. But if you don't mind, I'll just keep going and I'll just.
Is that okay?
Yes. Deal with the fish man.
Excuse me. You'll see me in my shorts now as well.
Oh, is he dressed from the waist up? He was. He's wearing shorts because he's in LA. He's all sunnied and honeyed, and I look a bit like Count Dracula in the darkness. So I'm broadcasting from Bristol as Ross King goes off to greet his man. There he is. Hello, Mr. Fishman.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Well met, Mr. Fishman. I like that.
Fish are very thirsty.
They are.
They're thirsty, these fish. They're meant to swim in it, not drink it.
I'm going to wait while they drink all that, have we?
Thank you. There we are.
What a beautiful...
It's pure vodka. They drink pure vodka, these fish.
That was a delicious segue. Thank you very much. The Fishman has been serviced. We could tell you address from the waist up. All is good. So, and finally, where can we find out? Obviously, you know, you're very well known, but where can we find out more about you on the interweb? If we want to.
Oh, right. rossking.com is the website. Everything's there. And yeah, we've got the TV coming along. We've got a new book that I wrote, as I said, with Shari Lowe under the name Shari King. So we're taking Hollywood, breaking Hollywood. And now book 3 is coming out. And we're also updating and tweaking the first 2 books. So there's going to be a 3rd book that will be out probably later this year, early next year. So that's exciting. So yeah, I mean, listen, I am a daft lad from Glasgow who's still getting away with it. And I feel very, very lucky and very too blessed to be stressed has always been one of my big mottos in life. So long may that continue.
I love that. A daft lad from Glasgow who's still getting away with it. So you've been listening to Ross King here in the Good Listening to Clearing. As this is your moment in the sunshine, Ross King, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'd like to say thank you. Thank you. It's been great fun doing this because it's been a little bit different as well. Not a little bit different. It's been a lot different, and you've made it such a joy to do. So thank you. Thank you very much. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I hope I haven't bored too many people.
I'm no euphonium melliflueux fishman. It's been all to play for. So. I'm just going to stop recording now. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me and Ross King, most importantly, our man from Hollywood. Thank you very much indeed. And my son Stan will be coming on the outro now. And good night.